What was your biggest setback in property? I've been fairly lucky in that I haven't had what people would maybe call like a setback of where I bought a property and lost a load of money in it or had big issues with it, which I didn't expect. I've been really good in my due diligence on any property I've done. I think that comes from my own learning and sort of my own psychology around property, is that to take my time on it and find the right deals, understand that if I'm not sure about it, don't do it. But probably the biggest issue I've had in property was actually in around the time I took the voluntary redundancy. And there was a property which I viewed almost as perfect, needed minimal work done, bits and pieces on the electrics to get it up to sort of what you need for a rental property. But it was, got emotionally attached to it, and that was sort of the biggest learning. So we ended up, I think, I signed the contract, then the vendor who was meant to sign the contract didn't, came up with an excuse. I think they said they were ill, so that was the first excuse. And then they were then meant to sign it next week, just went radio silent, said sorry, they were busy. We then had to actually get a sort of mortgage offer extension, and we did that. And then it turned out that by the time all was said and done and I pulled out of it, the vendor was meant to sign 7 times and didn't. And that was sort of the biggest lesson that I learned, because it left a real bitter taste in my mouth after it, that got really actually quite emotionally attached to the property and to the deal and wanted to make it work. You know, if something doesn't feel right, you kind of have to pull yourself out of it. So that's one of the big sort of lessons I've learned, and sort of from that is don't get emotionally attached. And sort of the setback I had on it was that I had to pay extra fees. I had to sort of extra opportunity cost wasted as well. Like I had that money sitting there to do that there and waited months almost to get that deal, and it didn't happen. While I would have been better going, right, the vendor's messing around, let's move on to another opportunity, because there's always going to be another opportunity. And I sort of didn't take that, but you know, that was actually probably a good lesson I've learned, and since I've never actually got emotionally attached to a deal. As soon as I think someone's messing around and I get a bad feeling, I'm kind of like, right, you either stop that or I'm out. And you know, that's an opportunity to take. And I think when you are investing in property, that's a really good attitude to have.